So what happens if you accidentally left out certain income from your income taxes? If you happen to catch that problem, you should submit an amended tax return to the IRS. If it is for a tax return that was due within the last 3 years, it still could be electronically filed or e-filed with the taxes. This way you could just e-file it with the IRS. The IRS will process your amended tax return. If you have an additional amount owed to the IRS, you could either make payments, or if this causes a balance due and you're not able to make payments, you can make arrangements through some kind of tax relief program. If you did not catch this income and the IRS did, this is when they submit to you a CP2000. Now this procedure is not looking at your actual tax return. All this is doing is they have additional reported income from a third-party source and they're adding that income onto your taxes. Now, of course, when the IRS does this, it's not generating a refund. The IRS will not generate a refund for you and send it out to you automatically. That's extremely rare when they do that. But you know what they do? Is they can make some changes that adds income, taxes, and penalties. So if you had some income that the IRS caught, and now you're caught with your hand in the cookie jar, there could be many different reasons why you did not include this income in your taxes. Now, if you did not include this income because it was a reasonable mistake, there was a reasonable cause, there was some kind of excuse that was very reasonable that you didn't include it on there, the IRS would consider penalty forgiveness. What you should do is at least respond to the CP2000, explain to them who, what, when, where, why, and also Form 843. Under these conditions, you're going to request the penalties to be forgiven. The IRS is going to review the reasons, your proof, in IRS Form 843, and they might consider forgiving the penalty. Because what happens if you don't respond? By not responding, the IRS is going to automatically finalize these changes and then send you afterwards to collections. And normally the initial proposed changes includes the additional taxes, interest, and penalties. And the penalty, they have one called the accuracy related penalty that it's pretty stiff. It's 25% of the tax. That's right from the get-go. So by you at least making that request, it could only help you. And there could be many reasons why you could have overlooked it. If you filed it yourself, doing it on TurboTax, maybe you did it in a rush and you didn't realize that you left out certain income. Sometimes that could be reasonable. Reasonable if you have years of doing it, maybe it's someplace you worked at part-time, you kind of completely slipped your mind, or if you happen to move and normally the tax forms from the place that's given to you mails it out to you. Maybe they had an old address, it wasn't forwarded to your current address, so it kind of got lost in the mail, you never received it, you thought you had everything, it's something you overlooked. Another excusable thing sometimes is you don't quite understand. You got a form that's a bit out of the norm, you probably said you might research it, you might take a look into it later. Later never came, and instead you filed your taxes, even though you filed it on time, you kind of overlooked that additional income. Sometimes the additional income is if you go to a tax preparer and you drop them off all your paperwork, maybe your tax preparer didn't see it, maybe he lost it, or maybe it's got, he opened the envelope and it fell out of the envelope, they never retrieved it. So when your tax filings got completed, they presented it to you, you signed and dated, it got filed, but it had that missing income tax information. Whatever the case may be, you might want to explain it to the IRS. And the moment you have the balance due, the moment you realize that, you should make payment right away to the IRS CP2000. You go to irs.gov, choose the tax year, choose balance due, and make that payment. That payment will be on record effective immediately. That way you also minimize other penalties, the failure to pay penalty, and maybe compounding interest. Wait a minute. What happens if they cannot afford to pay the tax balance? Now, if you have a tax balance, that it is going to be based upon the CP2000, based upon the additional income that was not reported to the IRS. If you cannot afford to pay, then you could always apply for one of the other tax relief programs if you qualify. It could be one of the IRS Fresh Start initiatives. It could be a reasonable payment plan, a hardship payment plan, the offer in compromise, or non-collectible status. And if you want professional help in evaluating your situation, whether you're still dealing with the CP2000, you want to file an amended tax return, or you have a balance due, we're more than happy to provide a free case review, evaluate your situation, and represent you and help you get rid of your IRS tax problems.